Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you to the finale to Master of Puppets. This journey we've been on is it fair to call this a journey? I feel like it is fair to call this a journey. I'm just clicking buttons at this point, making sure to get this right, because Master of Puppets makes you feel angry, it makes you feel desperate, it makes you feel intrigued, it makes you feel mad, it makes you feel sad, it makes you feel controlled, it makes you feel useless, and it makes you feel nothing. So you might be thinking to yourself, what exactly can Damage Incorporated really give us for a proper, it's... What do you suppose is harder, ladies and gentlemen? For an album to start off good and then finish off on a weak note, or for an album to start off very slow and then build its way up? Like, I suppose maybe in a concept album that would slightly be easier, because maybe based on how they wanted to structure a narrative, it could have go slow and then up to a really high note to end on. But then again, Master of Puppets isn't really like that, for the lack of a better term. But with everything we've uncovered, discovered, closed off, sliced and diced throughout this album, we've just got one more guy to go through. Why am I referring to these as guys? This is weird. But let's see exactly what Metallica can close us out on. You know, there'll be people 20 years in the future who will still be listening to this. There'll be people 50 years in the future who will listen to this. Celebrating its 100th anniversary, people will listen to it. That's how confident I am that this will live on in some shape or form. So if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, links will all be in the description down below. Let's conclude this. Damage Incorporated in 3, 2, 1, and... And of course you listen to the legendary Cliff Burton just ease us into it. Like, it's straight, you know what? Cliff is almost like it's like he's playing his bass almost like a cheese grater. So like a short one, and then a longer one, and then an even longer strip of cheese. I've got to stop coming up with these very weird analogies. They're getting more and more bizarre. like, oh my god, it's you know what almost Damage Incorporated like sounds like. It sounds like it's orchestrated, but it's unhinged. It's unhinged orchestry. That is what we are observing. Like, I could imagine Cliff has got a scalpel in one hand, and he's also got a needle. He's slicing his bass up, and then he's stitching it back together with the other one. So slice, stitch, slice, stitch, slice, stitch. So he can periodically let out these little do out of his bass. And then you've got James, who I don't even want to describe. I don't think... I know it's 10:30 at night, but I think there's got to be a watershed. There's got to be like another limit put in place as to what exactly we could describe James doing to his guitar. And then, of course, Kirk in the background. Like, well, did James play guitar at this point? I don't necessarily think it would, but whoever it is, whether it was James or whether it was Kirk, you know what I think Kirk would also be doing if he wasn't, doing XXX rated things to his guitar? I think he's just sticking out his tongue and just going, yeah, fuck it. I feel like this is it just feels right. I feel like Metallica are at their best when not only do they know what they're doing, but they can do just about whatever they want. And if they want to play unhinged, then I think we should let them play unhinged. Lars, meanwhile, I think... It's strange. I think Lars is just about the only one who's under any sort of like influence or any sort of control, because you've got to have some rhythm going on. And Lars, all credit to Lars, I must say this, but he has got rhythm and just a calmness to all of this. Maybe that's why maybe that's where the orchestral parts of this come from Lars of all people.
We last scream and shout.
I'm going to turn this up and I'm going to do that again. Possibly one of the greatest... This is just straight up... What can I describe? Oh, that's just... Okay, it's just a message there. I'm just doing this because it's one of the greatest solos in metal history. Just because of how it begins and how just... I'm just doing it.
Know just where you come from. Go.
And would you believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that is where, damn it, that's how Master of Puppets ends. To some people, it may not be the greatest metal album ever made, but it's up there as perhaps one of the most important. Because you know what? I don't know whether or not this is just because Metallica was breaking out and they became more mainstream. I don't really want to say mainstream, but maybe this is when they just got more attention than ever before. Maybe this is the one that traveled the Atlantic or the Pacific. Now, I deliberately, even though this is going to be the last in order, I deliberately decided not to do reviews on Orion, Master of Puppets, and Disposable Heroes, specifically because I want to make videos on those last, but show them in the chronological order. But listen, when you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, Damage, I could be here literally all day long talking about these lyrics. I mean, one of my absolute favourites is "Victim is your name and you shall fall." I think you could summarize almost any you could take out any line out of any context, and you can send it to hell with analysis. Guys, you may remember that I studied English literature at A level. I was born to do this shit. I mean, you want a really good example? Let's go really insane in terms of analysis. You want to hear something really analysis? I mean, I could take any example here, anything at all. And you know what word I'm going to go for, ladies and gentlemen, to tell you what this album is all about? I could use the line, "or dying on your feet for honesty." I could also take out a line like, "honesty is my only excuse." Or I could take out a line like, "fuck it all and fucking no regrets." I could do also another one like, "all's fair for Damage Inc. you see, step a little closer if you please." There is one line I can take, and I am going to butcher the hell out of it with analysis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is, quite frankly, the word go. 2 letters, ladies and gentlemen. And I use the word go to describe just about everything in this song. First off, you have from the timestamp, because the song really just starts to get going about 1 minute 14 or something like that. But go is just a silent reminder to Cliff saying that go, as in get the song started. And it's sort of a little bit of a trail on from Orion, and how it's slow, it's soft, it's the sort of thing you wouldn't expect to turn into a car ride from hell, because fear runs through every single vein in your body. If you listen to this, it pumps adrenaline. Damage Incorporated, Battery, the song that opened this, Damage incorporates batteries. They incorporate violence, weapons of mass destruction. And what is more aggressive than hatred, rage, fear? And Damage Incorporated fuel that into every single one of us. So maybe we've got a little bit of continuity going, because I will admit, Damage Incorporated, it plays out kind of the same way to Battery. So I think it's very, very interesting in that sense that the song ends as it starts in many respects. But again, let's go back to the word go for a second. The second you hear Kirk revving up his guitar like an engine, that is when go, almost at a signal, every shit hits the fan and the boys just explode as though they've only got minutes to live. Which I think is a good idea, because when you've got about 4 minutes to get your son in, that's exactly what happens. They get the job done. Oh my goodness. I think it's nothing short of a genius move, because I think the worst thing you could do for a thrash song is play something that is so fast and so hard. Is this the only thing you could ever talk about when it comes to Metallica making speed metal, because Metallica aren't necessarily, I want to say, renowned for doing speed metal, but Damage Incorporated is probably one of the closest you might find to that particular subgenre of metal. But with that being said, at go, at a signal, you hear James blurt out all of this macabre-esque, beautiful violence, dealing out the agony within, charging hard and no one's gonna live in on your feet's conformity, or die on your feet for honesty. Inbred our bodies work as one, bloody but never Christ's a mission, following our instinct, not a trend. Go against the grain until the end. Blood will follow blood. Dying time is here. Damage Incorporated. At a word go, it just begins. And you can even say when they just whisper, Damage Incorporated, they went go as in, go, do that. And then immediately slamming. They use the adjective just to, I want to say, fuck you back into the action. It's like, at the blood will follow blood, like you're taken away somewhere and then you're knocked straight back into the fight. It's slamming through Don't Fuck With Razorback. Like again, you've just been slapped through a wall. Stepping out, you'll feel hell on your back. Blood follows blood, and we can make sure of that. Life isn't far for you, and we're the cure. It's death. They are here to grant you death. And go. They are here to beat the hell out of you and then send you all the way down there. Honesty is my only excuse. I just like that line as well because, well, honestly, I just like doing this. Try to rob us of it, but it's no use. Steamroller action crushing all. Victim is your name and you shall fall. I don't know what the hell this dude had to do to fuck with these guys from Damage Inc., but they pay the price. And survival of the fittest. Go. And boom. This is the kind... Listen, I know I'm going to reference this a lot when it comes to like future Metallica material, but there's a very particular song on Death Magnetic called My Apocalypse. It's one of the most underrated Metallica songs you're ever going to find because it puts you back into this sort of imagery of violence, of twisted flesh, scorched hair, broken bones, humanity literally disabled, you might say. I famously said in that video, it's like listening to Picasso. If Picasso turned around and started beating the hell out of his subjects. And because this is almost the precursor to My Apocalypse. And then finally, my absolute fate, the bridge. Can we just talk about this for a second? We chew and spit you out. We laugh, you scream and shout. All fleer, with fear you run. You'll know just where we come from. Somehow, this guy just got like the beating of a lifetime. He is allowed to live. And now all of a sudden he's been told, well, you know where we are. And we know we're coming for you. And go. Just the solo of just all of a sudden everything is happening at once. Like your flesh is being set on fire, your nerves have been twisting and then yanked apart. Anyone who's ever had nerve damage before will know that quite well because it is like hell. Nerve damage, I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely. I mean, I don't claim to have ever suffered from nerve damage before, but I've had something where the small of my back was pushing against a nerve a few months ago, and it made it difficult for weeks to sit down with any comfort at all. I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, that shit hurts like hell. Just take it from me. But at the word go, it's just the violence, the ultra-violence begins. Again. Damaged jackals ripping right through you. Silent smell of all this gets me going. You really have to question exactly how much these guys fuck on this sort of ultra-violence because it gets you going. I've never once met anyone in my life who gets off to violence. and I hope I don't, because that shit is just like nasty, and so are the people who really think. What was that thing? I remember watching a thing by Ross Kemp where he went to some ghetto in maybe Louisiana or New Orleans and that, and somebody went. He had a gun on him, and he went, "This shit makes my dick hard," and I honestly, I don't know whether he was just saying it, for shock effect, but there's also the possibility that he probably isn't saying it for shock, and he's saying it because that's what he feels like. Jesus Christ. And maybe Damage Incorporated is, in my opinion, just it makes the boys from Dirty Deeds look like the Care Bears. Damage Incorporated, they went almost above and beyond in violence. They went above and beyond in making you sound like you're being dragged through hell as splinters of metal pierce, slice, and stab at your heart. And finally, just to end this video on the right sort of path, Damage Incorporated is the 8th and final song on the Master of Puppets album, released in '86. 35 years old, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, and I reckon at 85 years old, people will still be talking about this. The titular savage and vicious corporation that enslaves the population lays waste to humanity. Now that's metal. That's what they're saying about it. And listen, bands have done this sort of thing even further back than '86. Metallica have been doing this since probably the days of Easy Street. About corporations, about mythical lands where violence brews and the only thing you taste is the want of more violence. Violence breeds violence. A bit like those cocaine-induced hippos that Pablo Escobar has running along the plains of Colombia. Look that up, by the way. It's a fascinating read. But oh my goodness, Damage. I think Damage Incorporated. I don't think you could have ended Master of Puppets in a better way. With the image displayed of headstones, crosses, violence, ladies and gentlemen. That is what this album is all about. Violence. Visceral bodies being destroyed. Out-of-body experiences. And the need and want for more. There was blood, ladies and gentlemen. There was buckets of it. And so it is time to say goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. Farewell, my friends, farewell. For this really is the end of Master of Puppets. Take care. Bye-bye for now.